everyone, my name is Andiswa, a UCT medical student. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for watching one of my videos once again. And if you're here for the second time or the third time but you still haven't subscribed, please do the right thing and subscribe. And if you are new here, welcome. I hope you do stay and become a part of my journey as I become Dr. Andy. So I've been receiving quite a lot of DMs of people asking me about the requirements to study for medicine, what should they do if they are rejected, how they can increase their chances of getting to medical school, and quite a lot. And because I do not have that much time to reply to everyone's DMs, I've decided that I should allow people to ask me for advice, then broadcast my advices to the public so that a lot of people can benefit from it. So this is me right now about to share my advices with you, to those who ask for my advice either on my Instagram stories, on the comment section, on the community post that I posted here on YouTube. So if you do not see your post or your comment, or if I do not give you advice specifically if you ask for it, please forgive me. It's really not personal. It might happen that I took a similar question and I answered it instead of you, but trust me, I read all of your questions and I tried to pick the common ones so that I address common questions. Without speaking further, let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading from my notes. I wrote the questions down, so don't mind me if I keep on looking down a bit. Sorry if that will distract you, but I'll try to look down as minimal as I can. So the first one reads, I am in grade 10 and I have a passion in pursuing medicine. What is your advice for me? The first thing I would advise you to do is focus on your schoolwork. Medicine is a very demanding career. First of all, qualifying to get into medical school is very competitive. So I highly advise you to focus on your schoolwork, like do well, make sure that you get good results from the get-go. If you start putting in the work in grade 10, I promise you when you get to grade 12, you are going to be used to hard work. The second thing, which might be quite obvious, make sure that you took the right subjects. So the requirements for medicine is pure maths and physical sciences, so make sure that you take those subjects as well. You can take life sciences, but it's optional, especially at UCT. It's not really a requirement. Another advice that I would give you is that do job shadowing. Reason number one is for you to be exposed to the clinical platform or clinical work, even if you are not doing the clinical stuff, but just like go to the hospital or clinic environment and see how it operates and see if you are still interested in medicine, because a lot of people see medicine on the screen and think, oh my god, this is so much wonderful, this is so easy, this is so cool, but they don't know the things that people go through as doctors. So I highly suggest that you go to your nearest hospital or clinic and just do volunteer work. You do not have to be doing like serious stuff. Just maybe job shadow a doctor there, follow him or her around while they're doing their work, so that you get to know what being a doctor is like. The second reason is that it will do you good when you get to apply to universities, when you're now submitting your personal report. Moving to the second one. Hi, hello, can you please advise me on what medical courses I can do if I do not meet the minimum requirements? So you can do nursing, pharmacy, dentistry, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, radiology. Just do your research on those careers and see if there is anything or any one of them that you might be interested in. I'm a matric learner wanting to do medicine. What marks should I aim to get to be accepted in university? I've been getting this question quite a lot, and people get frustrated if I do not give them the exact answer, because I feel like you guys want me to say, okay, get 80 in maths, get 85 in physics, get 60 in LO. I can't give you that. Even the university itself if you ask them directly, they won't be able to give you that, because performance of students change every year. And even though a lot of people meet minimum requirements, at the end of the day, they take the best performers. So it depends on how tough the competition is. So what I am going to tell you is do your best. Do not limit yourself. If you are able to get 100%, get 100. If you are able to get a 90, get a 90. You get what I'm saying? So as long as you meet the minimum requirements, and if you can go beyond the minimum requirements, that would do you good, and that would increase your chances. All I can say is the better marks you get, the higher chances you get. Do I need all 7 distinctions to get into medicine? Yeah, this one is tricky. This one is tricky because of the myth that is going around that for medicine you have to get all distinctions in order for you to be accepted. I mean, it might be true to some extent, because a lot of people that qualify for medicine, they'll tell you, I got 7 distinctions. So you are not wrong to assume or to ask this question. But what I can say is, it is possible to be accepted for medicine without getting all 7 distinctions. It's not something that is completely impossible. If it was, the requirements were gonna say get all 7 distinctions. But what I'm gonna say is, the reason why people who get accepted are usually people with 7 distinctions, because the competition is that tough. As I've said, the better results you get, the higher your chances of getting accepted. So if you're gonna get 7 distinctions, you are increasing your chances are high of being accepted. If you're gonna get 5, your chances are lower than the one who got 7. You get what I'm saying? So you don't really need to get 7 distinctions in order for you to be accepted, but your chances are higher if you got 7 distinctions. And it also depends on what percentages did you really get. So on the video where I shared the requirements to study medicine at UCT, I demonstrated how they calculate the scores. So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch that video. I showed you exactly how they take your matric results, your NBT results, and they formulate a score, and based on that score, that is how you're going to be accepted. So it might happen that you got 5 distinctions, but your 5 distinctions are 100% 90s, and then there's someone who got 7 distinctions, but their 7 distinctions are just 80s and 81. It might happen that your points are higher than them. So if you want to know how to calculate those points, please make sure that you watch my video. I've been performing poorly on my maths. If I can aim for 50%, how low are my chances to get in medicine? Very low. I'm not gonna lie to you, they're very low to little. First of all, I'm going to speak about UCT. I'm not sure about other universities. Minimum requirements to study medicine is 60% in maths. So I assume that if you're saying your maths marks are low, they are less than 50%, because now you are aiming for 50, which is a level 4, I think. Your chances are very low. You are aiming for 10% lower than the minimum requirements. Your chances are very, very low. So I suggest that you aim higher, because even 70% in maths can barely get you to medical school at this point. Not trying to be negative, but I'm trying to be realistic. So please aim for higher. 50% is barely gonna get you a space at medical school. What are the chances of one getting a provisional acceptance with 4 or 5 distinctions? So this one depends. Did you get 4 or 5 distinctions in your grade 11 final, or you're talking about grade 12 March, or you're talking about grade 12 June? Also, is this 4 or 5 distinctions consistent throughout your results? Remember, in order for you to get a provisional acceptance, they will look at your grade 11 results, they'll look at your term 1 grade 12, and they will look at your term 2 grade 12, and then from there make a decision. So is this 4 or 5 distinctions consistent throughout all of those terms, or it's just 4 or 5 distinctions for one term? Another thing is that, is it 4 or 5 distinctions in what subjects? Is maths and physical sciences included, or it is your other subjects? Because it might happen that you get 4 or 5 distinctions on other subjects, and then for maths and physics you got a 5 or 4 or a 6. So it also depends on what subjects are you actually getting the 4 or 5 distinctions in. Another thing is that, remember, provisional acceptance is not only from your results, it is also from NBT. It might happen that the 4 or 5 distinctions stand you a good chance in getting provisional acceptance, but you perform poorly in your NBT. So that counts as well. How can I make sure I get into medicine after doing well in NBTs and met requirements? This is quite an interesting question. This person wants to know how to make sure that I get into medicine, how to get results, I guess, that will guarantee me a space into medical school. Okay, so the UCT admissions says that in order for you to be guaranteed a spot at medical school, this is something I didn't know, you have to get an FPS score of 810 or above. If you don't know what an FPS score is, it is all your percentages of your matric results added together, excluding LO. I've shown on the video of requirements to study medicine at UCT how to calculate that, plus your NBT result. That has to be 810 or more, and that is so high. Given that FPS score is out of 900, I think mine was around 700 and something. I calculated it on that video, I'm not sure, but that is the number one requirement for you to be guaranteed a spot. The second one is that on your NBT you have to get 69% for the academic literacy part, 70% for the qualitative literacy part, and 69% for maths. So if your results, you got at least those marks and your FPS score is 810 or above, you will definitely be accepted for medicine at UCT. And can I ask if my marks at the end of the year, grade 11, are below the medicine requirements? Can I be accepted? This is so interesting, because before I made this video I actually did some research and some reading so that I do not give, you know, weak advice. But where I read, actually, when it comes to the requirements, they were sounding like you have an option to just submit your grade 12 term 1 and term 2 and not grade 11. Don't quote me on this, I might have misinterpreted that statement, but they were like grade 11 or matric term 1 term 2. So I was like, So when I applied, they kind of like requested my grade 11, my grade 12 term 1 and my grade 12 term 2. So I didn't know it was an option not to submit one of them. But what I can say is, when you're submitting your results, it will be probably around May, June when you're applying, and you would already have your grade 12 term 1 and your grade 12 term 2. If it happens that your grade 12 term 1 and your grade 12 term 2 are very good results and your NBT is also very good, they can't reject you just based on grade 11 final. What's your advice for someone who has been rejected from med school? What do I do from here? This is a really nice question. The first thing I would have to ask is, do you have a second option? When you were applying, were you accepted for your second option? Maybe you might consider following your second option instead. The second question I would love to ask is that, which universities did you apply to? Because I know when you are in high school, you are so ambitious and you're like, I'm just gonna apply to UCT, VET and UP only, and then those 3 universities reject you. So it might happen that if you applied to at least 5 or 9 of the universities, one of them would have taken you. So just check where you rejected by just 3 universities that you applied for, or you applied to like 10 universities and they all rejected you. You might be rejected in some universities, for example UCT, for getting a level 765, but some universities might take you, so try that. Number 2, how are your NBT results? Were you rejected based on your NBT results? That is also possible, so you might consider rewriting your NBT results and reapplying again. Another thing you would do is that if, let's say, it is your actual results that caused you to be rejected, do you maybe want to consider upgrading? I'm not sure if you have completed grade 12 or you're still in grade 12. If you are still in grade 12, then that wouldn't really be possible, because you might get good results in matric, but then you were rejected based on how you performed in term 1, term 2. I know this is unpopular advice, but maybe you should think about studying abroad, like studying medicine in China, Russia, or Cuba. I haven't done much research on that to give you much information, but it is something that you can look into. They start their academic year in September, so in January you can take your matric results and go apply for that. I remember after finishing matric, I went to the Department of Health because I was looking for a bursary, and they literally offered to send me to China, Russia, or Cuba, and they were literally like, pick, where do you wanna go? And I was like, is it as easy as that though? But then actually I got to realize that people that I know who study at Russia, China, Cuba, it's not because they got the best results, because that is what I thought while I was doing like grade 8, 9, and 10, that if you go to study at Cuba, you're literally the top performer in the country. Until I did my research in grade 10, I was like, best 500 schools in the world, and Cuba was not there, and I saw BOUJ, UCT, Witwatersrand. I was like, really? So what I'm trying to say is, you might be rejected by South African universities, but be accepted by those universities. Which grade is considered for APS results?